Hey guys, PrinceofMacedon here. I'm going to do this commentary video for Rome Total War multiplayer, and this will be an online battle, of course, and it'll be a historical battle based on the first battle of Nola, which was fought in 216 BC between the army of Hannibal Barca versus the Roman-led army of Marcus Claudius Marcellus. And this is kind of an obscure, low-key battle, but I find it to be very significant for the fact that this is the first time that Hannibal Barca actually lost in a battle. Most people tend to think that Hannibal only lost at the Battle of Zama, but that's false. Hannibal lost several more battles, including 2 or 3 more times at this Battle of Nola, but I'm just going to talk about the first battle. But I can't talk about this battle without talking about the immediate events that led up to this fight. So let's talk about the Battle of Cannae really fast. On August 2, the same year, 216 BC, Hannibal slaughtered, encircled this massive Roman-led army at the Battle of Cannae, led by Varro and Paulus. Unfortunately, Paulus lost in a horse charge at the battle, so Varro was the only leader to survive this fight. And after this fight, he brought his troops, what remained of them, back to this little town of Canusium. It's about 10 miles southwest of Cannae. Meanwhile, back in Ostia, which was a port near Rome, Marcellus, that's the guy we're talking about here, he's on this fleet in Ostia, and he gets news of this disaster at Cannae. So he immediately sends about 1,500 of his own troops to Rome to help defend it in the event that Hannibal comes to Rome. And at this time, the Roman Senate, they're deciding what to do, so they decide to send Marcellus to Canusium, and that's where Varro is. But before Marcellus goes to Canusium, he sends a legion out to Teanum. That's near the town of Capua, and it's on the Appian Way. So Marcellus rushes towards Canusium, and that's where the surviving troops of Varro are located. And so he's rushing his way all the way out there. Meanwhile, Hannibal moves into the region of Samnium, and he establishes a camp in Compsa, which is near the southern area of Samnium. And that's where he leaves his lieutenant Majo in charge. Majo's mission is to take over the region of Samnium. So, after he starts his operations in Samnium, leaving Majo in charge, Hannibal then starts to begin his operations in Campania. And at this time, Capo had been very loyal to Rome, but after the disaster of Cannae, Capo decides to defect over to Hannibal. They think that Hannibal is going to be their next overlord, so they decide to defect to the Carthaginian cause. And at this time, while Hannibal is starting his campaign in the Campania region, we now know that Marcellus and his army is now gathered all the way back to the western side of Italy here. He's all the way in Castellinum, and he's already gathered the remaining troops of Varro. He also probably brought his legion over from Teanum, and he might have got some more reinforcements from Rome. So he's gathered his troops into Castellinum. So he's a much bigger army than what Hannibal has, but Hannibal's troops are pretty confident now, having slaughtered the Roman army at Cannae. So we have Marcellus at Castellinum near Capua, but Hannibal then marches south towards the big port city of Neapolis. And unfortunately, Neapolis remains very loyal to Rome, and they're very heavily fortified. And so Hannibal does not want to risk a lengthy siege of Neapolis. This is too powerful for him. So Hannibal marches northeast towards the little town. It's not really little, it's actually pretty significant. Not as significant as Capua and Neapolis, but it's fairly significant. It's near Vesuvius, actually. But he moves towards Nola. And this is where our showdown's going to be, but not just yet. As Hannibal moves towards Nola, we have Marcellus countering his move. Marcellus moves towards Nola too, What happened here was the town of Nola, they sent envoys to Marcellus back in Castlelinum, and they were telling him, hey, you know, we, the Senate of Nola, remain loyal to Rome, but the people of Nola are they're very adamant about defecting over to Hannibal. So this little town of Nola, they're kind of torn between who to support. You got the Senate supporting Rome, but you got the people supporting Carthage. So Marcellus, he deems this town worthy of an intervention. So he marches his army all the way down to Nola. He has trouble getting there because Capua is now hostile towards Rome, so he has to march all the way around, but he eventually makes it over to Nola. Strangely enough, when Marcellus gets there, Hannibal withdraws his army, and he marches southwest towards Neapolis again. This is his second attempt to persuade Neapolis to defect to the Carthaginian cause, but they are very loyal to Rome, so Hannibal withdraws again, and he moves towards Nuceria. He asks them to come over to the Carthaginian cause. They refuse, but this time Hannibal launches a very quick siege, and he completely obliterates Nuceria. And you're probably wondering, why is Marcellus not doing anything? Well, Marcellus has not seen Hannibal in action yet. He doesn't want to risk an engagement with Hannibal just yet, and he thinks the town of Nola is more important to the Roman cause. If Nola falls, then Neapolis might actually be persuaded to join the Carthaginians. Who knows? Because Rome already lost Capua to Hannibal. So Marcellus stays in Nola. Hannibal destroys Nuceria, and at this point Hannibal decides, hey, you know what? I think I can take on this Roman army. So he's going to move north again, back to Nola, and this is going to lead us to the showdown at Nola between Hannibal and Marcus Claudius Marcellus. And just who was Marcus Claudius Marcellus? Well, he's one of my favorite Roman commanders. He has a very colorful history, and I've actually mentioned him in another video of mine. But Marcellus, he was known, in my opinion, for three very significant events. One, at the Siege of Syracuse, he was the Roman commander, and he led this very awesome and famous siege battle at Syracuse, combining land and naval troops. And that was a very famous siege battle because Archimedes was there, and he was using all of his inventions to counter the Roman menace. That's where Archimedes was not really assassinated. I guess you could say he was executed, despite Marcellus's orders to keep him alive. Whether his troops recognized him or not, they disobeyed his orders and put Archimedes to the blade. The second thing that Marcellus was known for was in the year 222 BC, he won the most coveted prize a Roman commander could possibly win, and that is the Spolia Opima, and that is the ultimate spoil. And the only way you can win that award is if you, as a Roman commander, slay the enemy commander in a duel in battle. So in the year 222 BC, Marcellus was up against some Gallic troops, and that's where he met Veritimerus, the Gallic king. And the Gallic king saw Marcellus on horseback, and he challenged Marcellus to a duel, and Marcellus accepted this duel. So these two came at each other. Marcellus knocked this guy off his horse with a spear and killed him. And Marcellus dedicated the spoils, the armor of Veritimerus, to Jupiter. And he's only one of three commanders of Rome to ever win the Spolia Opima. And I would say this third most significant thing that Marcellus is known for is this battle, the Battle of Nola, in which he managed to defeat Hannibal. Hannibal's first defeat in the Second Punic War. So, the actual battle plan here of Marcellus was to put his best Roman troops right here, backed with a Roman cav, and he would put his allied cav and skirmish troops and whatever troops left on this gate and on the other gate. That was his battle plan. But leading up to this battle, there was a huge risk in actually engaging Hannibal's troops in a battle outside the walls, and that was because, as I said in the intro, the city of Nola was very divided on who to be loyal to. The Senate of Nola supported Rome, but the people of Nola supported Hannibal. And the reason why Marcellus decided to risk a battle is that prior to this fight, the Romans and the Carthaginians were engaging in skirmish battles. You know, like little brief skirmishes. But every night, these conspirators from Nola would meet with Hannibal, and they were talking about how to bring down this Roman force. And when Marcellus discovered this, he decided that he couldn't be risking all these indecisive skirmish battles when all these conspirators were talking about how to bring down this Roman army. So he decided to risk it all on a pitched battle outside the city walls. The danger of this is that the conspirators could have easily closed these gates and left these Roman troops locked between Hannibal's awesome army and this hostile town of Nola. So he decided to risk an engagement outside the walls. In order to protect against the conspirators, he left some reserve troops and some of his wounded troops to guard these gates. And he also put a law that said no one could approach these gates. So that was the setup for this battle. And there was a lot of inactivity. Remember I said there was a lot of skirmish battles between these two? Well, once Marcellus came up with this new battle plan, there was a lot of inactivity from the Roman side. So Hannibal didn't know what was going on. Some historians say that Hannibal assumed that the Romans would surrender the field to the Carthaginians. So Hannibal ordered up his siege equipment to take these walls from Nola. Meanwhile, this is historically speaking, Marcellus had his troops back behind these walls, and just as these Carthaginian troops were approaching, he ordered all of his men to just burst out of these gates and attack the oncoming Carthaginian troops. So these guys pinned the Carthaginians from the front, while his allied and skirmish troops came from both sides of these gates and launched surprise attacks on the flanks of these Carthaginians. And just all the screaming and the sudden shock of Roman troops coming from these gates, it forced the Carthaginians back and out of Nola. And some people think that the Carthaginians lost as little as 2,800 troops, with the Romans losing 500 troops. And then another historian says the Carthaginians lost 5,000 troops. Whatever the case, the Carthaginians lost, and they backed down from Nola. But let me talk about the battle I'm fighting now. My opponent's name is Hadrian. He commands this rebel army. I used this rebel faction to illustrate Hannibal's army at this time. And my army is a Primarian army. It's very cheap compared to my opponent's army. I spent a total of 13,370 denarii on my troops. Whereas my opponent's army is worth 15,108 denarii. So about 2,000 more denarii than my own army. And I maxed out a lot of his troops just to illustrate how confident his troops were at this time. But they were outnumbered, so I gave my guys more men than him. Less quality, but very numerically superior. And you might be wondering what these histati are. This represents Hannibal's best Libyan troops. And after the previous battles, these guys re-equipped themselves using Roman weaponry. So that's what these histati represent. And here's Hannibal back here. And by the way, at the Battle of Cannae, even though the Carthaginians won a huge battle and slaughtered so many Roman troops, a lot of their Gallic troops suffered. It's estimated that 10% of the Carthaginian army perished at Cannae, and most of the troops were Gallic troops. So I only brought one Gallic infantry unit to this fight for Hadrian's Hannibalic army. Anyways, we're starting the fight here. I noticed on the mini-map that there are cav units located on this mini-map. I mean, they're obviously cav units because look at his army. His cav's not there. His Numidian cav his Iberians, and his Gallic cav. They're not there. So I see these little dots, these little arrows on the minimap. So I take a detachment of my general, my equites, and my triarii into this forest here. And my general here, this is Marcellus here. That's why I gave him some super upgrades. Because this guy did fight in combat hand-to-hand, and is very good at it too. So I locate this Numidian cav, and I also locate his other cav out here. There they are. And the awesome thing is, I catch his Numidian cav here. And here comes my general, Marcellus. He wants some of this Numidian action here. If you know your history, Marcellus ultimately dies to Numidian cav. Not in this battle, but later on, he gets ambushed by tons of Numidian cav. So, I wanted to take out his barbarian and round shields, but my equites aren't strong enough to fight them by themselves. So this guy's able to save his barbarian cav and his round shields. And I have to get out of here because these Balearic slingers have the range to hit my cav units, and they do. So I lose some equites here. Look at this. Pretty rough. Yeah, Hannibal would have had the advantage in skirmish troops here. And by the way, I told my opponent, Hadrian, that I would come out to attack him. Because if he tried to actually lay siege to my walls, he wouldn't stand a chance. So I told him I'd come out to get him anyways. And historically speaking, that's the way it happened. The Romans did come out to fight the Carthaginians. There goes my Primarian army here. Got my Velites, my Hastati and Principes, Equites. Here's my general. That's the man himself, Mr. Spolia Opima, the Sword of Rome. You might be wondering, if this guy is the Sword of Rome, who was the Shield of Rome? And that would be Fabius. Fabius was known more for his defensive tactics and strategy. You guys know the famous Fabian tactics. Avoid pitch battle with the Carthaginians. Burn the crops. Don't leave anything for the Carthaginians to feed on. The infamous Fabian strategy. Here we are. We're about to engage this Carthaginian army here. I do have numbers on my side, but this guy has quality on his side. These guys are battle hardened now. Victorious for Akene. They know how to slaughter Roman troops. So Hadrian has his skirmish troops at the front here, and I can try to charge these Balearic slingers with my Velites, but my guys are getting hacked down before I even get there. The cool thing is, this guy's wasting his javelins, his pila, on my Velites as I charge up here. You see what I'm doing with my Triarii? I'm inching them up here towards this guy's cav. And I'm also moving up my Hastati and Principe lines. I want to exchange javelins with this guy. If I can use all my javelins on this guy's Hastati, like all my javelins, then I'll have a great chance to win this battle. But if this guy closes in before I can toss all my javelins, then my guys will get overpowered easily. Remember, these are maxed out Hastati here, representing the best troops of Hannibal, the Libyans. So in the back, here come my Triarii, still approaching. I got my cav back there too, waiting. And I'm gonna bring up my general to inspire my troops, but I think this fight's about to happen. So yeah, I've got my Hastati so close that I can now take shots at these Hastati here. So I accomplished my first mission. I used up all my arrows, all my javelins on these guys. And look at the back, my Triarii. I caught this guy sleeping with his cav. So I take down his cav back here with my Equites and my Triarii, and I rout his Hastati line, well, at least these guys, with my javelins. Pretty ferocious fight. Remember, I'm dealing with maxed out units here, so these guys can overpower my guys. See, it says I'm being overpowered here. My guys are about to lose. Way back here, though, I am chasing down these Carthaginian cav units. I don't want them to come back. And I'm bringing up my general here. Marcellus wants a duel with Hannibal. If you look here, it says my guys are actually losing. There you go, see? So here we are, Marcellus versus Hannibal. Oh, we're going at this, my friend. There's Marcellus, and Hannibal's back here. There he is. And I don't like my chances in this fight, so I'm bringing up my Triarii to help. And here's the infantry fight. He's gonna rush up his Gallic troops and his Scutarii into the mix. I lost some Hastati back here. Yeah, my guys are actually losing against these guys over on the side. And there, we killed Hannibal.
And now his men fear us. It is time to press.
Yeah, don't mess with Marcellus in a duel. He'll get you. So now I'm gonna bring up my general, and even though I'm losing on this side, well, now it says I'm winning. I get this very crucial rear charge on this elite line of Carthaginian troops here, and that causes a mass rout.
Rome demands victory from her generals, and this day is clearly our victory.
Yeah, if I didn't defeat that general, it would have been really bad. Also, if I didn't catch that Numidian cav unit at the beginning, basically, if I didn't neutralize the Carthaginian cav, then I would have had a very hard time taking on this maxed out Carthaginian infantry, because they were tearing up through my guys, and if they had cav support, then they would have easily torn me up, the way Hannibal would have. Luckily, I caught that ambush at the beginning, because that would have been bad if I had the round shields, the barbarian cav, and the Numidians on my back. Because in order to defeat the Carthaginian army, I needed to have cav superiority, so I could outflank. Anyways, historically speaking, yes, Marcellus did win this battle, and Hannibal, he got out of here and he went to the nearby town of Acre, where he proceeded to raze that town to the ground. And Marcellus, he stayed in Nola, and he located the conspirators, or at least 70 of them, and he had them all executed. So that is the first battle of Nola. Hope you guys enjoyed this bit of history, and hope you guys enjoyed the battle. Good game to my opponent Hadrian. I'm thankful for him to take part in this historical battle, and I'll see you guys later.